Hello, welcome to Elvin Associates. Hope you're having a great day thus far. It's Friday, so it is of course a great day. My name is Jeff Stauffer. I'm the Community Relations Director with the firm, and our webinar today is part of our wellness series. And our topic is the ever-evolving scams out to get us, more sophisticated with higher stakes. And our special guest presenter today is Dr. Michelle Fritsch, who has led all of our wellness series presentations over the year. Hi there, Michelle. It's great to see you.
Wow. Good to be here. Thanks you, Jeff.
Michelle is a wonderful friend to our firm, many others through her work in retirement wellness, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back today. And we want this to be as interactive as possible. So we're going to unmute all attendees during today's presentation. So while you can still post feedback in the questions panel or the chat, feel free to speak up, let your voice be heard at any time. And you also received the presentation slides by email yesterday. They're also available in the section marked handouts on your screen if you'd like to download them at this time. And we also always send out a post-webinar feedback message right after the presentation. Please take just a minute or two to offer us your feedback about today's presentation. If you have thoughts about a future presentation through our wellness series or another presentation, please let us know. And here at the firm, we're always working every day with individuals and families with the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion in mind. We're always available for consultations to discuss your family's planning needs, and always look forward to being a resource to you in any way, now or in the future. What does estate planning have to do with health, healing, and low stress, and even scams, as we're going to be talking about today? Well, a lot. As Steve always says in his presentations, planning is always very goal-oriented, and many times comes down to love and ensuring that you're taking care of your family and you. And you should make sure you're taking care of yourself as well, along with your loved ones. So planning ahead does just that. So at this time, I want to offer Michelle a brief intro, and we'll jump right in. So Dr. Michelle Fritsch is a board-certified geriatric clinical pharmacist with a passion for healthy aging and education. She is a specialist in medication use, prevention, and retirement transition for people over 60. And she is the founder of Retirement Wellness Strategies, a one-on-one concierge retirement wellness portfolio planning program, and co-founder of Propel Comprehensive Wellness, which we now have as part of our client care program here at Elvin Associates, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the very end. And she works with a broad definition of health: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, aligned with purpose in each phase of life. And her career has included academia, advanced interprofessional geriatric teams, creating a nonprofit within a health system that served the underserved, medical missions, student services for the underserved in Baltimore, and much, much more. So Michelle, what have you not done? That's my question to you.
There's still a bucket list, let me tell you.
I know, yeah. Michelle was also a presenter at our client care program education event recently. And so you're not in Maryland right now. You're in a much warmer and nice place right now. But I really appreciate you taking the time to be part of our presentation today. I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, I'm so glad to be here. And this is such an important topic. You know, our world, there's so much change, so much uncertainty. And when we sort of get off our game, if you will, when we're not as solid and focused, there are unfortunately people and schemes out there that try to take advantage of that. And so in this time of uncertainty, some of those scams are just exploding. So I feel like the time is ripe to make sure that we're all aware of these. We know what they look like. We know how to protect ourselves. And as Jeff mentioned, I've been working with adults 60 plus my entire career. And unfortunately, I have seen countless people be affected by scams. I myself have fallen prey to scams. So please, there's no shame in that. It's so easy to do. So I would just like to kick off. Is there anybody here that wants to talk about some scams that they're hearing about to warn everyone else? Financial, personal, identity, anything in particular that you've heard of recently that you want to make sure everyone knows about? And you can come on in and talk about that or put it in the chat.
There's a lot of that with the Easy Pass emails and texts that say, you owe this money, and click on the link to pay it immediately.
Yes. And has anyone experienced one where someone says it's a grandchild calling that needs money? I know my dad got that call, and he thankfully asked a question that only his grandson could answer. And of course, the person calling couldn't answer the question, so he hung up.
I haven't had that one, fortunately.
I just had an email this morning saying that my bill was due for Bitcoins that I bought through PayPal.
Yeah. And in any of those scams, whether it's text or email, they just want you to click the link because then that will set in motion a lot of things that could get into your system and cause damage. So we have to be on guard. And I will say, again, for decades, I've had patients or clients scammed out of $500 here, $1,000 there, $25 here. The scam I want to really focus on today is so much bigger, so much bigger. And I will say, if you've got means, if you have wealth behind you, I'm sure you know this just puts you higher on the target list because there are way too many ways for people to figure out if you are somebody who might have money that they could steal from you. So I want to start today actually by helping us all kind of do a personal assessment. And I ask you to kind of take a deep breath and kind of calm your mind, and let's be real with ourselves as we go through this assessment. So my first question for you: what brings you joy? What just lights you up? Even if it only happens once in a while, I want you to think about what really brings about your best day or your best moments. And I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about that. If you want to jot a note so you can think more about it later. And then my next question is, what calms you down? When you are anxious, worried about something, when you've just gotten a piece of news, when you just wake up, there are those days where we wake up and we just feel jittery. What calms you down? What do you do? What can you do? And if you've been in these before, you've heard us talk several times about our brain has different functions. Different parts of our brain have different functions. When we're feeling at risk, in danger, really worried about something, there's a part of our brain that's in the back. It's not very big. That is the one that makes decisions when we feel like when we're in crisis. This part of the brain, the much bigger front part of the brain, is the part that is creative, that is a good problem solver, that's able to really think things through. So by doing things that calm you down, you're stealing the ability to think through the situation from the back part of your brain, which is all about keeping you alive, but not really about making good decisions. And it pulls that ability up to the front of your brain once you're calm to really think things through. Should I push that link? Is my grandson really in trouble? Let's think this through. How can I navigate this in a really smart way rather than a reactive, fearful way? How often do you feel lonely? And I want you to take a little time. What does that feel like? And how open are you to being transparent. Not necessarily with the whole world. I'm not talking about massive oversharing, but are there some people in your life with whom you can just be your true, authentic self? That you can share things like, wow, I'm having a really agitated day. I can't rest today. Do you have people that you can share? Man, I'm feeling so lonely right now. I'm going through a season where I feel like the world's forgotten me and I feel very alone. And who are those people? Who do you call when you're upset or things aren't going well? When you need some sound advice, when you need somebody to help you think through a really difficult situation. And it might be different people for different kinds of needs. I'm going to stop here for a second. Jeff, is there anything in the chat or is there anything anyone would like to share at this point before I go into the scam that I kind of want to focus on today?
Thanks, Michelle. Nothing in the chat right now. You have me thinking about a lot of things, but I'll keep those to myself.
I hope everyone's thinking a lot of things.
I think so.
These are good things for us to think about. All right. Who really gets you? Who really, really loves you, no matter what happens? Who are those people? We can't get enough of those people. Now we're going to really get personal. And this kind of gets into an area of unmet needs because we all have them. There is not a human on the planet that can meet all of your needs. And sometimes I think we give each other horrible expectations that we can meet each other's every need. So, what are your unmet needs? What do you long to hear? You need somebody to say these things to you, and that would help with the loneliness. That would help calm you down. That would make you feel so much better about yourself. It would make you feel more confident. I want to stop here and say it's okay to have days where you feel really agitated and jittery. That's okay to have things that upset you. It's okay to feel lonely once in a while. And it's okay to have unmet needs. This is the human, this is life. These things happen to everyone. And unfortunately, we live in a time where social media and the television and even songs might make you feel like everybody else has it figured out. I'm the only one that struggles with these things. I'm here to tell you, you are not the only one. Every single one of us has times of loneliness, has things that, boy, we just wish somebody would come alongside us and recognize these things about us and tell us these things about us, would build our confidence, would make us feel good about who we are, no matter what we've done in this lifetime. People that would make us feel good. That's very normal. Unfortunately, there are people who recognize that, who do not want to take care of you, and who are choosing to commit crimes that very specifically dig into these unmet needs. And when that happens, people who can't be vulnerable, who can't share with someone else, man, I'm going through a rough time. I things aren't working well for me. I need some help. Those people that just can't be vulnerable, can't be transparent at all, are the ones who are most vulnerable to these schemes. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about that before I go forward? All right. There are scams that specifically prey on these unmet, unstated, unaddressed needs, and they've got it down to a science of how they get to know you and how they uncover these things about you and then say everything you've ever wanted to hear and develop these very false relationships and then take advantage of you. I think if I were going to create the most cruel thing you could do someone on an emotional and mental level, on a relationship level, on a self-esteem level, these scams are the worst I could ever come up with. So let's get into it a little bit more. They're called pig butchering scams. If you've ever been a pig farmer, if you've ever known a pig farmer, you have these little pigs and you do everything you can to fatten them up, help them to grow and be as big as they possibly can. And so that takes time. And so these scams fatten you up or make you as vulnerable as possible for the biggest reward for the scammer as they possibly can. So we're talking months to years of developing a false relationship. So step one is they create a connection. The ones that I'm reading about and experiencing through clients the most, they met on social media, they met on a dating site, they received a text, they received an email, somebody that has something important to you in common with you. So throughout this, I'm going to share an example of the one that I know the most about that is the biggest, worst one, that sadly the person is still alive, and we'll get to why that's so rare. So in this case, this person loves to go out in a fishing boat and loves to fish. And along comes this quote unquote woman, images, video of an absolutely gorgeous, decades younger woman who does not wear boating clothes in her pictures, who claims to love the same kind of boating. And so checks in once in a while with this victim and says, hey, have you been boating lately? How many fish did you catch? Talks as if has some knowledge about that particular kind of hobby. From there, it gets to somehow, does your family go out in the boat with you? And in this case, this person is not happy that his wife doesn't go in the boat with him. So the relationship starts saying all the right things. Oh, if I were with you, I would be in the boat with you all the time. I can't believe that your wife doesn't go in the boat with you. Forget all the reasons. It's just all the things he needs to hear. And then it goes deeper into his psyche. It's so so calculated how to ask the right questions to very gradually figure out all of those times that you feel lonely and what leads to that and how they can fill those times. How to know what brings you joy and do, say, send you those things on a regular basis. Figure out what calms you down when you're feeling anxious and do that thing over and over. Figure out what you need for someone to say to you so that you can feel like your very, very best self. And this avatar says all of those things. They figure out what lights you up, what makes you feel good over and over. Now, I'm talking about a situation where the victim is a man. There are definitely instances where the victim is a woman. So this is not gender specific. A woman typically, the ones that I've known the most about, the perpetrator, rather than being a much younger man, although that can happen, it tends to be a man of about the same age and stage or a little bit older, but who presents as someone with extreme wealth and extreme kindness, and in all situations, very good looking people. The people come from social media sites of really beautiful people. And so they take pictures. Often you can do a reverse track and find who is the beautiful person whose images have been taken and then manipulated with artificial intelligence. So at this point, they can create videos that look extremely real. I would say 6-12 months ago, you could kind of tell an AI generated video, and that has changed. Just in a few months, that has changed. Those videos look very convincing, very real. So they've taken the image of someone who attracts you because you responded to one of their messages. So you must find that person somehow attractive. And now they're adding all of this, figuring you out, what your needs are, what you want to hear. And they're just feeding all of that over time. And then either that person is wealthy because they know secret or hardly known to anybody investment schemes, either foreign investment or cryptocurrency investment most of the time. And so in one scheme, the man himself the victim was a woman. He was an investment expert. He, showed pictures of himself on a yacht and in exotic places. He was so wealthy and he just loves this woman so much. He wants her to be able to grow her wealth in the way he did. He only does this for people he cares deeply for. And so he starts showing her how to invest her money. When it's a woman perpetrator who's very, very young, in most of the situations I've seen, either she has a parent or an uncle or some trusted person who is the wealthy investor. She, the young woman, is very wealthy because of this family member. And because you are so special, she wants to share this with you. She really can't share it with very many people because then it wouldn't work. But with very most close, most loved people, will share this with you. And then you invest a little bit of money, just a little bit of money, and they start kind of grooming you and teaching you how it works. And if you already have some investment knowledge, even some crypto knowledge, their sites look identical to the real ones. They're not the real ones, but they look identical to the real ones. And so you see your money in there and you see, how it's growing and it looks really awesome. And then you want to test it. So you want to pull some money back. So let's say you invested $5,000 and you want to take 1,000 back out. When you're talking about smaller numbers, you will be given access to your money. You'll be able to reinvest it in different ways. You'll be able to pull it back out. You're learning how to be as good of an investor as the criminal who's teaching you. And so you get really confident, more and more in love with the person who's teaching you, and more confident that this is a great way to grow your funds. So then you put in some more. And maybe the access becomes a little bit more limited, but there's some really good reason why. There's some really good reason why, but it's still growing. Oh my goodness, it's growing like wildfire. So if you put some more in, you know, if let's say you've got $100,000, by the time you put all that in, you're going to have $500,000, by the end of the year, and way more than, going to be in the millions in a short period of time. And they show you all these graphs and how your money's just going to grow. About this time, your friends are all going, wait a minute, what's going on? This doesn't seem right. You're spending all of your time on your phone or your computer talking to some person you've never met. Now you're investing money. All the people around you, if hopefully you've got people who care about you around you, are saying this doesn't look right. Then the avatar feeds you what to say to the people around you to get them off your back, to keep them away, to try to prove to them that this is real. And so again, they're trying to pull you deeper and deeper and deeper into a romantic relationship. It's gone from friendship and shared interests to they're meeting all of your emotional needs. Then it becomes romantic. And there are these promises that we're going to be together sometime soon. We're going to get married. We're going to go off. We can buy an island. We're going to be so rich. We can live however we want to live. The videos that you're being fed show this more lavish lifestyle. Or if you're somebody who doesn't want lavish, but you want to be able to like donate millions of dollars to charity, they'll make the whole scenario match what are your dreams if you had massive wealth to deal with. So promises of greater and greater returns, you're giving more and more money until you reach a point where that money is just gone. And then the devastating part, this just gets me. You're left. Usually at this point, you've stepped away from your real relationships. For those that are married, it almost always ends in divorce because you are cheating on the spouse, completely emotionally wrapped up, declaring love and a desired future with this fake person who to you feels so real. And it's finally that person who meets all your needs. So you can't wait to be with that person. Your money's gone. You think your money's huge. You think your money's grown in tremendous ways, but your money's gone. One of the situations I'm aware of, the man, the victim, is nationally known in his field. He is senior partner of his firm. He is has saved countless lives. He's in healthcare. He's saved countless lives. This is a hugely respected person. But through a series of events, got very much caught up in this. Gave another $100,000 to the criminal. This has been going on for well over a year and a half. Gave another $100,000 just this week, even though everything's been done that we can think of to let him know that this is not real. That brings the total for this one victim to over $1 million. He then went and quit his job because he's about to go off and be with this person, leaving his family with no insurance. Out of the blue, no discussion with anyone. Just wreaking havoc in the wake. In way too many of these instances, when the man is the victim, once he's lost his family, lost his friends, lost his job, lost his money, the suicide rate is unbelievably high. Women are less likely to take their life, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But the gravity of this is immense. And Jeff, again, I thank you for the opportunity to talk about this because this sucks people in so deep and it robs them of their personhood. It robs them of their soul. It's just so horrible. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Now, there are a number of AARP has information out warning people about this. There are the Trade Commission has information about this. The CIA has information about this. The FBI has information about this. The FBI even has a hotline that you can go to report these things. So there is information out telling people about this, but yet when I talk to people, most of them haven't heard of it. So coming from some of those investigative agencies, these are the red flags to look for in your friends, in your family, or yourself if you feel like you might be caught in one of these. Somebody with no history of investing, with no real deep knowledge of investing, suddenly becoming very interested and starting to invest their funds. Someone who's pulling away from their real relationships and they are just constantly on their phone, constantly talking to someone, or putting themselves, off in a different room on their computer and just constantly talking to someone. Somebody who's got a lot of pressure on them that they have to follow through with this. At this point, I'm in this, there's no getting out of it. I've got to keep going. I've got no options. Even if they start to suspect it, they feel like they have to keep going. The perpetrators, the criminals, will even encourage, once your actual money is gone, that you take out loans, that you remortgage your house, that you find other more and more ways to pull money. And again, on their investment site, it looks like your money is growing, but now you're not able to pull it out anymore. And there's all sorts of excuses why. And you're starting to realize, wait a minute. And every planned get together, there's a reason it doesn't happen. Oh, I'm sorry. My mother got sick. She's in the hospital. I've got to be with her this weekend. We'll do it another weekend. Or I just got a new job. I'm so excited about it. I really don't have any time off right now, but soon, very, very soon, we'll get together. Or whatever. There's actually websites that will give you the list of the most common excuses used by the criminals. You think you're talking to this beautiful person, but used to say, well, we can't get together this time, but next time, next time, next time, next time. And of course, there's never a meeting face to face. There are stories that people have traveled to other parts of the world to be with this person that they now love. And in some cases, they never come back. And others, they come back sorely disappointed when they finally realize that it's all a scam. So again, this is very, very heavy. I mentioned men and women in general. There are differences, but in general, from all the stories that I've read and that I've watched people go through, women are a little more open to sharing. Oh, let me tell you what happened to me. Oh my goodness, he was gorgeous. He was so rich. I really believed him. I can't believe I gave him my life savings. This was terrible. Now I've got nothing. I want to share it with everybody so no one else falls into this. Women are a little more likely to do that. Men, the suicide rate at the end of this is horrific. Just horrific. So why am I talking about this and how did we get here? Ellen and I have both been in healthcare for over 30 years each. We've seen so many things happen. Scams have always been around and will always be around. But the way that this one completely guts the person in every possible way is worse than any that we've seen. And when we think about our health, there's our physical health, there's how we move our body, there's the food that we eat, there's the diagnoses we have, and often that's where we stop thinking about health. But as you're seeing with this type of scam, it very much plays into your psyche. It plays into your mental health. It becomes an addiction. Being on the phone or the computer with that person, hearing what you need to hear, is an absolute addiction. Emotionally, you're completely manipulated now by this avatar, by this person. Socially, you are becoming disconnected. And one of the number one things that leads to rapid health decline is to be socially isolated. Well, these scams isolate you from everybody else because all you need is this avatar, this fake person who's talking to you. And spiritually, I don't completely understand it, but I know that there's a big spiritual component. That, again, this thing is just robbing you of your soul. So that's a lot. I would love to hear what are thoughts. Have you seen anybody get caught up in these? I know several people who've said that they've played with these. Someone has, tried to start one of these with them, and they've played with it for a while just to see what happens. But they've known from the start that it's fake. I don't know that I would play. It's like playing with a really big bonfire. But if you know anybody who doesn't realize that this is not real, I'm glad to share more information, give you the links to the FBI and the CIA and the Trade Commission and everybody's warnings, if anyone's interested in that. Because
Hey,
again,
Michelle.
yeah, please, Jeff.
Wait, sorry to interrupt there.
Well,
I
please.
did have a couple of questions here I think
Perfect.
are very relevant. So question is, are people with large sums of money more vulnerable? Is there an average amount of such victims as far as, I guess, a dollar amount? And lastly, are dating sites a fishing place for scammers to get victims?
I'll start at the end. Dating sites are definitely a fishing place. Many, many of them have started from there. So be very careful. The more wealth you have, yes, you know, um, there's even a documentary. I can share any of this, Jeff, if anybody wants it. A documentary where a woman went undercover and in a third world country where a lot of these are being perpetrated, and got to know the criminals behind it and the process. And that her research is one of the ways we kind of know the steps, that and the stories of people who've been willing to talk about it during or after being caught up in one of these. But they have basically different levels of criminals. And so if you've got a smaller amount of money that they want to get, then they've got one type of scheme they do, and they get your smaller amount of money. And if you've got a somewhat bigger, then there's a whole different process that they follow to get that bigger amount. And if you're a really big fish or a really big pig for pig butchering, then they bring out the best of the best. And like the person that I know about, we're in over $1 million, $1 million at this point. So a group tried to estimate this from 2024 or 20, I guess it was published in 24. So in 2023, the estimate was $75 billion just in the US taken from people in these scams. And this first swept across Asia. And we've got some very rich pockets of Asia, and one estimate was $340 billion total as of that time, across the globe, of money that's been scammed. But there are many, many people saying those numbers are way low because of the shame at the end of it, the suicide rate at the end of it. A lot of the actual impact of this is not being completely captured.
Yeah, Michelle, got a couple of comments. If you could share that documentary site,
Yes.
I'd be happy to share that in my follow-up
I
message I'll send
I
out to
find it
everyone.
hard to watch. Let me just say that. I find it hard to watch to see somebody so intentionally manipulating other people. But I'm glad to share it. So again, because we see all this stuff, that's why Propel, that's why Ellen and I do what we do. If we can help you in any way, we're glad to do that. And I'm going to stop the slides and just would love for us to have some discussion. Anything else anyone wants to discuss about this? Because it's a lot to process. Especially if you've not experienced it, it's a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Please feel free to put your messages in the chat, or even better, if you'd like to share your thoughts, your microphones are open.
I've never been a victim of it, and I haven't, and I don't know anybody personally who has, but I heard enough stories about it. And when my husband had died like 30 plus years ago, I had such a fear of that I trusted nobody. But that has brought me to the point of still being single. And fortunately, I have family and friends, so I don't feel that loneliness, but I could see where that fear could have made me like lock myself away.
That's a great point. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You're right.
So I'm glad that I have family and friends around that have prevented that from happening. And, like I say to people, I don't look for somebody to, tell me something that I need to hear or anything like that. I don't feel like I'm missing anything there. If I were to meet somebody, it would probably be somebody that I've known for a while and have seen in another light, that eventually a relationship develops. So I feel comfortable with something like happening, but not just meeting somebody and immediately starting, with the goal in mind that we could get together.
That makes good sense. And if it's somebody you've known or someone that you can meet in person, I think that's way different than
Yeah.
somebody who's like too good to be true from the very start that you never get to meet in person.
Yeah.
Here at the firm, at Owen Associates, we had a prospective client contact us the other day about how this gentleman seemed to be maybe in his 40s or so, and his father had been scammed out of his life savings, which was $4 million. And this came as a complete shock to the son who was contacting us. And so trying to determine a path forward and ways to prevent something from happening further in the future, and also planning for that, the father's future, which was at one point very secure, and now there's a lot of unknown questions. So I think just staying in touch with people and people that we care about and it is so important. But these scams that you mentioned, especially this primary one, it really gives people a false sense of security in what they're looking for. So it's very challenging. I think just being very communicative with the people we love and trust is so important.
Very true.
I've been getting text messages saying that my resume, I'm with job offers, and having seen my resume, and here I am retired. I am not looking for any job, so I can spot that it's a scam, and I just delete it. And but then I'm more worried about youngsters in this day and age when they're losing the jobs, they could become a victim, and I worry about that. And the second request I have was if you could share that FBI, whatever resources you had suggested, I would really appreciate if you could
I will
send
do
it.
that.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, you had mentioned that many of these scams might deal with cryptocurrency or things that, where you could argue there's a quick and sudden rise in value, cryptocurrency being an example, but that there are other types of scams, maybe for smaller amounts, maybe for poor people, if you will. What I mean, let's say. So, what in addition to cryptocurrency, what other types of scams uh, are typical or possible or current, if you will?
Good question. Some of the ones I've seen are like that this person forms a relationship and
Mhm.
then their water heater breaks. Oh my goodness. They can't believe their water heater broke. They need, $1,000 to pay for that. Or their car broke down. I was on my way to come see you and my engine just blew. I can't believe this happened. I can't wait to get to see you, but I don't have the money to fix my car to get there. And so some of them are more, um, not that that's minor money, that's still big money, but things that this person needs in order to get to that point where you can be together.
Mhm. That's interesting. I haven't, uh, fortunately, uh, uh, been a victim of that, and I don't know anyone, or if anyone I know, at least they haven't told me that that they have been victims of that. But so at least I'm not aware of that. But um, other than, for example, dating sites, are there other venues that that can take place? One person mentioned job offers, or like if you're, particularly if you're young, you're searching for a job and you send out resumes, and you know, I guess one scam might be, well, if you want a job, give me some money. You have to do something to apply for a particular job, and that's usually a giveaway that that's a fraud of some sort.
Right, some sort of application fee. Yeah.
Right.
Social media is another one. I know a number of people who've gotten caught up in these in Facebook
Mm,
or well, that's the one I hear about the most is Facebook, where somebody wants to friend you. It could be LinkedIn, it could be TikTok, it could be Instagram, wherever that somebody's following you. And then our information is sort of out there. So if
mm,
somebody gets a hold of your email, it could be an email like, hey, George, I saw that you really like purple butterflies. Man, I love purple butterflies too. Could we get together and talk about that sometime? Here's my phone number. Give me a call or text or, depending on what pieces of your information they have, I think they could approach this from any of those directions.
mhm. I know, like with Facebook, years ago, I uh, used Facebook, and I tried not to put a lot of personal information, but people put their birthdays and all kinds of stuff on that, which all I never felt comfortable with. I
Smart.
promise that is that even if you're not that active, you can get hacked. So uh, when I suspected I was hacked, I wound up canceling my account and have never gone back on to Facebook, uh, just because of that experience. Nothing bad happened, but the I just find it hard that so many people put so much personal information on that. If they have friends in the thousands, that's just, to me, kind of unreal.
You're right. And if like I'm traveling right now, if I put on Facebook that I'm traveling right now, well, you ever wanted to rob my house? It's a really good time to do it, right?
Right.
Or if I'm like, I went to this extravagant place and that extravagant place and this thing and that thing, well, then they're going to think I've got a lot of money. That would, put me at greater greater likelihood that I could be targeted for that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Michelle, we have a question here. Are most of the perpetrators foreign, making them hard to prosecute? Do you know of
Yes.
any cases where the perpetrators were prosecuted?
So fascinating question. We talked earlier about digital forensics. There are people who've now figured out how to reverse engineer the call and try to trace it back to the perpetrator. But it's been a number of third world countries that, talk about a way to make money, big money, from different parts of the world, but places where the rules are a little more nebulous, or it's harder to get somebody to go in and arrest that person. And so from what I've seen so far, that reverse engineering and finding the source has at least allowed the victim to get set free of it, to get proof that this was a scam and help them move on, but not so much arrests or ability to shut down this underground industry so far. Oh, and one more. I don't know if anybody wants to see this. There's a Dr. Phil where a man, it was a situation where the woman just needed more money. All these bad things kept happening that prevented her from getting to him, and they were engaged, and she couldn't wait to get to him, and he was telling all his friends that he was engaged. And at the end of the Dr. Phil, he brings out the woman, the image that he thought he had been talking to the whole time, but this woman did not know the victim at all. And just the crushing reality of that they had just taken her images and then created the avatar that he had fallen in love with, and all the money was completely gone and there was no relationship.
So would you say it's more like a middle-aged single who have become more vulnerable to this? What age
The
group?
ones that I'm hearing the most about are 50 plus. One of them that I know about right now, this person's, kind of mid 50s and married, and still just completely wrapped up in this. And then I've not heard yet of any that have targeted people much younger than about 50.
I guess the premise is that younger people are still broke. Is that why?
Well, that and more tech savvy. I think there might be a component of that. Maybe more able to recognize that that's a fake crypto site, or that video just doesn't look right. I mean, especially these AI generated videos. From what I'm hearing, they're pretty one way. The
Mhm.
avatar is telling you things, but they can't say, like to Jeff, oh my goodness, Jeff, what did you do last Saturday? How are things in Maryland? Something personal. It's not yet to the point that it can be that accurately two-way real conversation. It won't be long, give it a few months, but at this moment, it tends to be more the avatars speaking and you get to see them, but you don't get to really have a conversation,
Mhm.
which you would think would be a glaring sign. But once you've been manipulated that significantly, you make excuses, right? Yeah, she was just busy. She just wanted to drop me a note.
Any final thoughts from our attendees? Thanks so much for sharing today and uh, sharing your thoughts and what's happened to you. It's very helpful.
And thank you all for being so interactive. I love that.
Um, as we wait for any final thoughts, Michelle, thanks so much for a great presentation. Really always appreciate it. And these wellness series presentations are best part of my week when we get to do them. So we'll continue forward with them for sure. And our webinar series continues forward after today. Got a couple weeks until our next one, May 28th. We're going to talk about trustee selection and how to choose the right one for you. Always one of our more popular ones we try to do every 6 months or so. And then we've got a great presentation in June with Kelly Nelson from Maryland Able, Lily Hummel, one of our principal attorneys here at the firm, and Courtney Haycoop, who's a chartered special needs consultant, talking about the differences between ABLE accounts and special needs trusts, which is a question that we get a lot here at the firm. So we've got some experts coming in to talk about that. I always send out a message with some follow-up information. I'll get from Michelle you the documentary information and the FBI resources. And also, I want to mention that thanks to the success of our client care program and Michelle and people like Michelle who want to be part of it, we are offering Propel Comprehensive Wellness as a member benefit with our client care program. So I really appreciate your partnership with that, Michelle. And there's information on our website about it, but the first month is free. And also there's a discount if you want to sign up on a recurring basis for Propel. So take a look at that. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me since I work closely with the client care program here. Anything else for the good of the group? Okay. Michelle, we'll call this one a success.
Thank you.
Michelle, thanks for being here, and to all of our attendees, have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon on the Elvo webinar series. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.